Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Gituku.
Hello there, thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this yet another day. It's 14th of May 2026. A very special night as the fuel prices are reviewed by the Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority. We'll be telling about those prices and what they mean, knowing too well that for the first time, diesel is going to retail at 242 shillings in Nairobi, of course, way higher in other towns across the country. But on Data Point, we'll also be reflecting on the Kenya-France relations. You saw that Africa Forward Summit that was in Kenya, and the bilateral conversations between President William Ruto and President Emmanuel Macron will be looking at what that is. Of course, we know that there are deals that were reached between the two countries of up to 150 billion shillings, or if you like, 1 billion euros. We'll also be focusing on the current trade volume between the two countries, worth 46 billion shillings. How much are the exports? How much are the imports? I'll be telling you a breakdown about that. But at the same time, you may also want to know that currently 8.5% of European tourists to Kenya come from France. They compare differently against other countries like the UK. I'll be breaking the numbers down for you to understand what that looks like on Data Point. But also later on, we have the News Gang taking a look at some of the events that defined the country and the region this week. But first, here are the top stories tonight.
All the others we don't know. They keep saying they want the United Opposition wants to have a single candidate against Ruto.
It is a race of dwarfs as presidential aspirants fall way below the 50+1 threshold, with President Ruto leading with 24% and Kalonzo second at 19%.
David Kipsang.
Murwadi Kir decides. Tallying of votes continues in race to replace late popular MP Johana Ngeno.
Our community is suffering. Our community is suffering because of land grabbing, and our government is silent.
One person shot as police move to contain clashes over the disputed T2 area along the Wajir-Marsabit border. Paris to Nairobi with love, hugs, diplomacy and hidden knives at the Africa-France Summit in the Talk Shop edition of News Gang. Our sign language interpreter is Yulan Zala. And we want to begin with the new prices of petroleum products in the country, because this information has just come in from the Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority. For a litre of super petrol in Nairobi will go up, or rather across the country will go up by 16 shillings. For a litre of diesel, it is going up by more than 46 shillings. And for kerosene, that remains unchanged because of some of the interventions that the government has come up with. But because of this increment, this is how the prices at the pump will be looking like. In Nairobi, a litre of petrol will now retail at 214 shillings 25 cents. That is up from the previous price, or the current price, of 197. It will be changing at midnight. In Mombasa, the price of super petrol will be 211 shillings 9 cents. Of course, this is the port of entry, or the city of the port of entry. In Lamu County, the price will be 216 shillings 6 cents. In Mandera, it will be 234 shillings 90 cents for a litre of super petrol. Let's take a look at diesel and how it will be retailing. In Nairobi, it goes to, again, an increment of 46 shillings, takes it to 242 shillings 92 cents. In the county of Mombasa, it will retail at 239 shillings 64 cents. Again, it is the city of the port of entry. For Lamu, it will be at 244 shillings 99 cents. But in Mandera, you'll see the price at 265 shillings 10 cents. And obviously, so much information will be coming in as we get to also understand what has happened to the prices of these products. A litre of super petrol, this is the landed cost of the price of the product by the time it gets to the port of Mombasa, has gone up by 10%. For diesel, it has gone up by 20%, and for kerosene it has gone up by 1.5%, and that is why it is settling at that price that I just mentioned there. And I just give you some more details about the landed cost of a litre of super petrol is now at 117 shillings 82 cents. For a litre of diesel, the landed cost, that is the price by the time the product gets to the port of Mombasa, is at 167 shillings 51 cents. And for kerosene, going up by 1 shilling 5 cents, it's now settled at 172 shillings 66 cents. And obviously, because of some of the interventions, you recall that recently the VAT on fuel was reduced by 50% to now go at 8% to the litre. And some level of stabilization has also been put into place. For instance, there's a subsidization of a litre of diesel by 14 shillings 51 cents. That's why the price settles at 242. For a litre of super petrol, there's no subsidy this time. Remember that last time there was a bit of a few shillings of subsidy or the stabilization. It is not there this time, and that advantage has been taken to diesel. 14 shillings 51 cents. For a litre of kerosene, this subsidy is 91 shillings 29 cents, and that's why the litre is retailing at 152 shillings 78 cents. Those are just some of the details that we have from the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority as we continue to break down that. But first, to another story. With the 2027 presidential election projections tonight, opinion polls are showing that no presidential candidate is currently meeting the constitutional 50% plus one threshold of being declared president-elect. A survey by polling firm TIFA puts President William Ruto ahead of his potential opposition contenders, with his rating standing at 24%, while Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is second at 19%. The survey also shows a decline in the support for the broad-based government. ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna now enjoys favorable ratings in the poll. 73% expressed support for his Linda Mwananchi faction, while only 24% support Oburu Odinga on the faction that he leads of Linda Ground faction. Here now is Brenda Wanga with details of that survey.
Number of valid votes, 7 million. Thank you. 7,176,141. This represents 50.49%.
It takes 50 plus 1 for a person to be declared elected president of Kenya, and so poll results a year to the election places all aspirants way below the mark.
Ati Kakamega mnasemaje?
Standing at 24%, President William Ruto leads the pack of lowly ranked aspirants that include Kalonzo Musyoka, who is second at 19%, Fred Matiang'i, who is third with 14%, and Edwin Sifuna, who makes a debut in presidential aspirants table, is fourth with 10%.
All the others we don't know. They keep saying the united opposition wants to have a single candidate against Ruto. And I've seen some people on television and the media say, well, if we, without even having the numbers, if we put all the votes of Kalonzo and Matiang'i and Sifuna, Gachagua together, they can easily defeat Ruto.
A critical piece of the Ruto puzzle is a person by his side and the rest to retain his seat.
Huyo deputy president hatuna nini chuki na yeye kwa binafsi. Yeye binafsi hatuna maneno naye. Lakini hiyo kiti ni kiti ya public.
Ruto's broad-based partner, ODM, has laid stake to the position of DP going into the elections. But the poll shows the current holder, Professor Kithure Kindiki, remains the favorite with 59% support to run alongside the president. In stark contrast, leaders associated with ODM attract negligible support for this role. The polls show support for Kindiki is premised on the perceived continuity and stability he brings to the Ruto administration.
Very good. Hello, how are you?
But if not Ruto, then who? The opposition landscape is a patchwork of regional kingpins. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and Jubilee Deputy Party leader Dr. Fred Matiang'i remain the men to watch, enjoying 18% of support, while DCP's Rigathi Gachagua and Linda Mwananchi's leader Edwin Sifuna also make the cut. There is, however, a glimmer of hope for those seeking a unified front. When paired together, a ticket featuring Kalonzo Musyoka and Fred Matiang'i edges out a Kalonzo-Sifuna duo among opposition supporters. But even as the numbers tell of the uphill task for the opposition in the presidential race, they also tell of the crisis of confidence in the broad-based government. While support for the BBG spiked late last year, it has now plummeted back to 30%, with 56% of Kenyans now opposing the arrangement. And nowhere is this friction more visible than within the Orange Democratic Movement. The numbers tell a devastating story for the party's old guard. 73% of ODM supporters now back Sifuna's Linda Mwananchi faction. These supporters aren't looking for a seat at Ruto's table. 53% of them want the party to field or support an opposition candidate to challenge the president directly in 2027. And as the 2027 clock ticks, the only certainty is that the broad-based experiment is under fire, and the battle for the soul of the opposition has only just begun.
You have no program for any country. You have no plan. You have no vision. Mimi nataka niwaulize, wale watu watashindana na sisi?
Though the poll gives the incumbent the lead at 24%, the fragmented opposition carries a combined percentage that inches close to the 50+1 constitutional threshold, with just over 14 months to the general election. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Now, hours after a TIFA poll projected a stiff competition between President William Ruto and opposition leaders ahead of the 2027 general election, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua and Linda Mwananchi's Supremo Edwin Sifuna have hinted at possible collaboration in their bid to dislodge the president from State House. Speaking during the burial of Yala MP Kanini Kega's mother in Nyeri County, Sifuna said the opposition has no option but to set aside their differences, unite and rally Kenyans to deny the Kenya Kwanza administration a second term. Gatete Njoroge has more.
On a day when opinion polls projected strong opposition to President William Ruto's bid for a second term in 2027, two opposition leaders, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua and Linda Mwananchi leader Edwin Sifuna, who if combined command 19% approval among Kenyans as preferred successors, have hinted at plans to work together. Edwin Sifuna, who led the Linda Mwananchi team in condoling with Yala MP Kanini Kega following the passing on of his mother in Kieni, Nyeri County, says his team is ready to work with the united opposition in a bid to remove President William Ruto from office.
We are convinced that there is no other formula. Before God, there is no other formula other than a united ticket against William Ruto. So, whatever needs to be done, kama ni kusameana, waje basi tusameane tu. Lakini haiwezekani tumpatie huyo ndugu yetu nafasi yeye aweze kurudi kwenye hiyo kiti aendelee kukandamiza wananchi wetu.
A pact that Gachagua says they are ready to embrace, if only to ensure an end to Kenya Kwanza leadership.
Na imwana icio ciuma acieta kwa Sifuna nitukuruta wira nao niguo. Yes. Na ndamwira atige guthiira ndege, ndamukania athiagire guku thi ta ithwe mwicire ithuĩ nĩ ndege tutangĩhota kũgũra rwĩgĩre no tuoe na tũthiĩ no bũrũri ũrĩa ũratũbatara na twĩna mũtumia na ciana.
With reports that the government side is planning to weaken the opposition by enticing some of their key leaders to join their side, the leaders have insisted they will not disintegrate in their pursuit to rescue Kenyans from what they term as bad leadership.
Mimi ninajua hawa watu wanakutafuta. Hawakutafuti wakuue, wanakutafuta wakupe pesa. Wanakutafuta wakununue. Tafadhali, tafadhali. Hata kama itakuja pesa ngapi, tusimame na wananchi. Hatutatumika sisi kupatia Kasongo ati arukie kwa dirisha pale na paka tayari tumeiweka kwa kona. Haitawezekana. Haitawezekana. Na tuna sababu zetu.
Sifuna using the opportunity to seek forgiveness from Gachagua over his role during his impeachment ordeal, saying the breakaway is what has helped put President Ruto in trouble.
Sasa wakati impeachment yako imekuja, wacha nikuambie tu ukweli. Mimi ni SC wa ODM. Naangalia naona hapa hao watu wawili wameanza kugombana, wacha tuongeze sisi moto. Wakozane wao, ni shauri yao, si hao unajua pale Ontwara. Kweli tu kweli nataka niulize hapa Nyeri. Mlikuwa mnataka nifanye nini kama SG wa ODM? Si nilikuwa nitafutie chama yangu nafasi, si ndio? Na si unaona Kasongo ameingia kwa shida.
Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
Now to another story. Tension remains high along the Marsabit-Wajir border following an escalation of a dispute over the ownership of the T2 area. One person was shot during protests sparked by the arrest of two community leaders over claims of incitement. The protesters are demanding the release of the elders and halting of construction of a multi-agency security camp until the dispute is resolved. In the meantime, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has confirmed that there are ongoing talks with leaders from both counties to find a lasting solution to land dispute. Safina Chengoma reports.
It was running battles between the security personnel and irate residents in Saku, Moyale and Sololo sub-counties in Marsabit County as the dispute over the ownership of the land in T2 area escalated.
Our community is suffering because of land grabbing and our government is silent and we don't know why they are silent.
Ardhi ile tunasema kwa sauti moja kwamba ni amana na ni mali ya jamii yetu. Si mali ambayo ni ya kunyakuliwa na wavamizi kwa kutumia njia ya mabavu.
Heavy protests have been witnessed in the area since Sunday following the arrest of two leaders who were arraigned on Monday and detained for 10 days over allegations of being linked to a militia group, claims the community disputes. One person has been hospitalized after sustaining a gunshot wound during the protest.
We further condemn the abduction and continued detention of former Chief Dabasa Dambi and Elder Gurach Dambala on what we believe are politically motivated and trumped terrorism charges aimed at silencing legitimate community grievances.
Both Wajir and Marsabit counties claim to own the parcel of land which has been earmarked for the construction of a multi-agency security center.
Mjumbe Mheshimiwa Adan Keinan, rafiki yangu, zamani wakati nilikuwa mjumbe, alikuwa wakipata shida kule, kila wakati anakuja kwangu, anaomba kwa heshima, hiyo sehemu sasa anajenga, nilikuwa nikimkubalia pamoja na viongozi wa hapa Moyale, ndio wakule malisho kule, maji na nyasi. Lakini sasa inaonekana amepata barabara rahisi ya kwamba anakuja ati anajenga na CDF katika county ingine.
I have tried not to comment on this matter. Basir and Tito and those places don't belong to the MP of Elders. They are part and parcel of Wajir County. So no one should politicize it. If Marsabit has a claim to what we believe is part of Wajir County, if anyone wants to know where the boundary is, go to Survey of Kenya. But don't incite people against each other.
Governor Abdullahi terming the opposition of the construction of the security center misguided.
Does it even matter where a multi-agency unit is set up? Can the police set a roadblock everywhere? Do the police need my permission to set up a roadblock in Wajir County? Do they need the permission of the governor of Marsabit to set up a roadblock in Marsabit County to stop the transportation of drugs and human trafficking and gun running? Because this route is a conduit for guns, for human trafficking, for all manner of drug business.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has confirmed efforts to find an amicable solution to the land dispute.
I have been speaking to the leaders from both counties, and let's not put timeline. But what is important is that we're seized of the matter, and we want to make sure that our people live in peace. And the situation in Basir and any other situation in that area should not escalate conflict, and we will sort out that issue.
Safin Achieng Oma, Citizen TV.
And now to the ongoing by-election in Emurua Dikir, where voting concluded shortly after 5 o'clock, and vote counting has been going on. Our reporter Emmanuel Oletenges is there. Oletenges, all right, first, one person was injured during the Emurua Dikir by-election after being attacked by suspected goons in the Cheleme area. Tension gripped the constituency as DCP agents claimed they were targeted by UDA supporters. Vote tallying is now underway after polling stations closed at 5 p.m. And our reporter Melita Oletenges has been on that story. Here is his report.
By 11 a.m., political tensions had escalated at Cheleme polling station, where a DCP agent was injured in an attack by suspected goons. The incident sparked panic early in the morning and caused tension in nearby areas, including Kiribwet and Olpobong. Police officers quickly restored calm as the injured agent was rushed to hospital for treatment. Candidates from both UDA and DCP condemned the violence and called for peace.
Sikia kuna furugu inaendelea huko Cheleme, wananyamaza. Wanasikia kuna furugu Kiribwet, there is nothing that has been done. Ingawache wamejaribu ku calm the situation, but the perpetrators bado hawajashikwa.
Hapa Emurua Dikir ni kubwa kushinda sisi sote, na naendelea kuelezea watu wapige kura kwa amani. Unajua hii maneno ya kura ikiisha, bado life must continue. We have to be there tomorrow again. So nilikuwa naelezea watu wapige kura kwa amani, alafu warudi waende wafanye kazi ya kawaida.
Despite the incident, voting continued peacefully across all 94 polling stations in the constituency, although voter turnout appeared low.
Tulichagua mtu, alafu akuja atusaidie hapa kutengeneza barabara, kujenga mashule na kusaidia wananchi. Tunataka mtu akienda huko anatetea haki ya wananchi.
Shughuli ya mchaguzi ni mzuri sana. Atasia niko mzuri, naweka kura mzuri kabisa.
DCP candidate Vincent Rotich cast his vote at Soget polling station, while UDA candidate David Keter voted at Cheleme polling station. Other candidates, including Desma Cherono of PNU, Gideon Koech of NVPK, and Kenneth Kiprono of RLP, also took part. The widow of the late Johanna Ngeno, Naian Tutu, voted at Mogondo polling station and urged residents to maintain peace while asking whoever will be elected to succeed the late MP Johanna Ngeno to uphold his legacy.
We are practicing democracy. Everybody can choose their own leader. Whoever wins, I am begging you, tafadhali maliza zile vitu ambazo Ngeno alipromise watu wake wa Emurua Dikir.
David Gibson.
Vote counting is currently ongoing at the constituency tallying center, with official results expected to be announced later tonight. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
And Melita is now live for us from Emurua Dikir. Melita, good evening. What can you tell us about the progress in vote counting and tallying?
Well, good evening to you, Sam. We are at the constituency tallying center here in Emurua Dikir, which now marks the closure of the voting exercise that lasted the whole day. Polling stations opening up at 6 p.m. and running through the whole day and closing at 5 p.m. Out of 94 polling stations in this particular constituency, so far we've counted 7 polling stations out of 94, and this is real-time results filtering in the IEBC portal. Leading at the moment is David Kipsang Keter with 1,033 votes from the 7 polling stations, followed by Vincent Kibet Rotich of the DCP party with 850 votes, and then followed by Gideon Koech of the NVPK party, and Kiprono Rotich comes in 4th with 7 votes. He belongs to the RLP party, and Cherono Desma of the PNU party comes in with 5 votes. That is real-time results according to what the constituency returning officer Caleb Gikonde has been receiving here. And of course, remember now we have all the clerks, presiding officers coming back from different polling stations, carrying back the ballot boxes and of course the results. And once they present the results to the constituency returning officer, then he will be able to add the results to that particular portal, and that is what we are viewing. So you can see it's quite a process that requires patience because we also have presiding officers and clerks who are coming from far-flung areas of this particular constituency, and so we have to wait up until the last polling station, 94 out of 94. That is when we will be sure who the winner of this particular contest is. As you can see there, it attracted 5 contestants who have participated in quite an intense campaign around the 4 wards of this particular constituency. Mogondo Ward, Kapsasian, Olol Masani and Ilkerin are seeking the vote and the support of the electorate here, and today the electorate came out in the different polling stations to cast their vote. Throughout the day, we observed slow voter turnout in the different polling stations. It wasn't queues as you would think about it, but it was a voter coming one after the other. And of course, we shall be also looking at the turnout. As at now, I can see it is at 4.3%, the 7 polling stations that have been counted out of the 94. And of course, we shall be monitoring that figure also to just know how the voter turnout was like. Earlier in the day, and as you have seen in that report, there were reports of tension that were reported in different places, 3 places to be particular. And there were reports that DCP agent was kicked out of a polling station that they were supposed to be representing the DCP party candidate, that is Vincent Rotich. So there was reported an attack on a DCP agent at Cheleme, and now the neighboring polling stations reported tension because we understand that there were goons who were moving around threatening and even intimidating some of the DCP supporters. But police officers swung into action, quelled the tension, and peace and calm was restored. And thereafter, the voting process continued as expected here in Emurua Dikir. Remember, it is a moment of truth drawing near for the 5 contestants, and of course also a very defining moment for the residents of Emurua Dikir who went to the ballot not only to vote for a candidate but also to vote for their future. Speaking of development, critical issues that they have raised, including the road network here in Emurua Dikir, access to healthcare, water, and of course improving education standards here in their constituency. Sam.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa, there from Emurua Dikir, speaking to us and telling us that so far David Keter of UDA is leading with 54% of the vote so far counted, and Vincent Rotich follows with 45%. Vincent is from the DCP party, and obviously he says that only 7 polling stations have been counted out of 94 that are taking part in that election. We move on to another story where Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has urged the court to reject his predecessor Rigathi Gachagwa's request of full-term payment as Deputy President, arguing that the move will justify his reinstatement as second in command. However, the Democratic Citizens Party leader insists that he was illegally ousted from office by being denied right to undergo cross-examination after he was reportedly taken ill during the impeachment proceedings. Seth Olale followed today's court proceedings and filed this report.
On the final day of oral submissions by respondents in former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment case at the Milimani Law Courts, lawyers representing sitting Deputy President urged the court to dismiss Rigathi Gachagua's petition in totality.
How was Parliament to undertake this exercise in 46,000 polling stations? So one of the case-by-case considerations, my lord, you must have is also the resource implications.
The allegation that public participation was not conducted, it did not cover everyone. Even in Parliament, when debate is happening, not all members get an opportunity to speak to a particular motion.
DP Kindiki, through his attorney, dismissing evidence by Gachagua's doctor, Dan Gikono, that his patient was taken ill at the time of his impeachment by the Senate.
The real reason the first petitioner engaged in this act of malingering to run away from cross-examination is because the cross-examination would have affirmed the counts relating to the bizarre amassing of wealth, the count on corruption and economic crime.
However, Rigathi Gachagua, through his lawyers, insisted that he was illegally impeached by being denied rights to undergo cross-examination after he was reportedly taken ill during the impeachment proceedings.
Article 145.5 requires a hearing. You must be heard during that investigation over the 10 days. That was taken away. Article 145.6 requires a report indicating if or not the allegations have been substantiated.
The Speaker himself ends that session by saying, "Honorable Senators, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me take this opportunity on my own behalf and on behalf of the Senate to convey our sincere sympathies and best wishes for quick recovery to His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya."
Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
All right, during that story from the courts, we're taking a short break here on Tonight. When we come back, we have more stories, including Data Point that is looking at the Kenya-France relations. Watch. Kenya-France relations in numbers, with trade volumes now standing at 46 billion shillings.
Usingoje hadi mvua ikupate. Pata mabati bora leo kutoka Royal Mabati Factory Limited. Brick tile and Roman tile zinapatikana kwa discounts kali plus free delivery popote Kenya. Call 0722 638383 now.
My favorite clothes deserve proper care. Sunlight hand wash powder cleans, freshens, and leaves them with a lovely fresh fragrance, so they come back looking and feeling beautifully refreshed. Sunlight hand wash powder cleans and freshens.
Some kids are just a step ahead. The winning difference? A spoonful of Blue Band. The only one with the right levels of omega-3 and 6. Blue Band, a spoonful of difference.
Kote nchini mbele tuendelee.
Kenya. Twende mbele. NCBA. Go for it.
Our
bodies get serums and washes, but underarms only get deodorant? That's why our new breakthrough formula has pure hyaluron and vitamin C to deeply care for your underarms for soft and even skin tone in 2 weeks. With 72-hour sweat and odor protection, try the new Nivea Derma Control range because your underarms deserve more. Nivea is for skin.
Kupika ni sherehe daily, lazima niweke mchuzi mix kwa githeri, mchuzi mix unafry pia kwa chipo, chakula yoyote unaweza weka mchuzi mix, mchuzi mix, sika kama wewe.
Are you a truck driver? Do you have over 3 years experience and a valid license? M Ajira is looking for you. We are recruiting over 400 heavy truck drivers below 45 years of age for immediate deployment to Saudi Arabia. Secure your future with a salary of up to 130,000 every month, inclusive of mileage bonuses. Interviews will be held in Mombasa on 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th of May 2026. Visit www.m-ajira.com and apply to secure your interview slot. Slots are filling fast. M Ajira, your gateway to global opportunities.
I'll be coming back, even if it's the last thing I will do.
Welcome back. Kenya's nominee for High Commissioner to Canada and former KRA Commissioner General Humphrey Watanga came under intense scrutiny as he appeared before Parliament's Defence, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee. From tough questions over his exit from the KRA to sharp concerns about his leadership style, competency and diplomatic sustainability, lawmakers pressed Watanga on whether he was what it takes to represent Kenya in Ottawa. Willie Lusige reports.
Humphrey Mulongo Watanga.
Former KRA Commissioner General Humphrey Watanga's path to Ottawa faced a rough takeoff as he appeared before Parliament for a high-stakes vetting session to determine whether he is fit to serve as Kenya's next ambassador to Canada.
Requires the National Assembly.
After seeking a 30-day postponement of his initial vetting, citing the need for more time to prepare and hand over duties, Watanga finally faced the Defence, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee, only to encounter a barrage of tough questions.
Biochemistry.
Lawmakers put him on the spot over his short stint at KRA, his previous job exits, and the circumstances that led to his forced resignation.
Only 2 years in the Kenya Revenue Authority position. Is it because you're a hard, difficult person to work with?
I know there have been grapevine saying that you are fired from KRA.
The interests of the institution and the nation supersede the interests of the person.
But even as he defended his record, Watanga struggled to convince the committee why his interview had to be pushed by 30 days, a decision that has forced the government to incur extra costs to re-advertise the vetting.
So your terminal leave had already begun before. Then you still claim it was handing over that made you seek an extension.
I was of the view that it was important. See to it that there is an effective handover.
Further questions emerged after Watanga disclosed he was still waiting for his university transcripts, one of the critical documents required for the process.
I made the application, but I'm yet to receive and submit my transcripts.
Yet it was allegations about his personality, claims of arrogance and harsh leadership style that appeared to strike the heart of his diplomatic suitability.
My colleagues, those who have met you before, those who know you, have accused you of one thing: arrogance. And the arrogance is detrimental to diplomacy.
Some members even questioned whether Watanga truly desired the role or was simply going through the motions.
I've been listening to you, but I've not heard you talk about how you will represent Kenya in Ottawa.
My question to him now will just be simple. Do you want this job?
I'm willing and ready to learn and learn as fast as possible.
As questions over his readiness and diplomatic fitness grow, Watanga's nomination continues to face intense scrutiny, especially after his earlier South Africa posting was changed.
Thank you, Chair.
The committee now faces the decisive task of determining whether Watanga is fit to represent Kenya in Ottawa. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, for years, they have knocked on government doors in search of what they call their loved ones' final dignity. Families of civil servants who died or were injured in the line of duty are accusing government of abandoning them, with some waiting for compensation and last expense payments for more than a decade. Their anguish has been worsened by confusion and a blame game over who should settle the claims following the transition from the defunct NHIF to the Social Health Authority. Emily Chebet with that story.
Inside this quiet compound in Turbo Uasin Gishu County, Benson Ogundu moves from one chore to another, cleaning, washing utensils, feeding chickens, duties once handled by his wife. Behind the routine is a man still struggling to come to terms with the sudden death of his wife in 2020, a loss that left the responsibility of raising 4 children to him and a future he says has become more uncertain with every passing year.
Alikuwa ameng'olewa jino na anaonekana bakteria. Katika meno kuna bakteria fulani, so iliingia ileta infection kwa damu. Ni kama kutumia madawa ile alipewa antibiotics vizuri. Though I don't know kama alipewa kupewa. Though nilipouliza daktari baadaye walisema walikuwa wamepatia hizo madawa. So wakasema hiyo ndio ilileta infection kwa damu, ikaleta blockage, kapata heart attack na akaenda hivyo.
His wife of more than 20 years was a government officer working at the Ministry of Education at the time of her death.
Nilitengeneza hizo mastakabadhi zote kutoka kwa ofisi hapa na Nairobi Jogoo House, nikapeleka mwenyewe NHIF, nilikuwa takana lipo hiyo last expense na group life. So that was December around the 20th. Wakaniambia itashughulikiwa kuanzia January 2021. So wakaniambia nianze kuangalia in the 2 weeks after January.
Benson, who was left to raise the children after the tragedy, was still in employment. Years of pursuing her unpaid dues, and he is now retired, with much of his retirement package depleted by mounting medical bills.
2021 ikaisha, 2022 ikaisha. Unfortunately, 2022 mimi mwenyewe pia nikagunduliwa niko na cancer ya prostate. So ikabidi nifanywe matibabu ya upasuaji Beard Hill Hospital Nairobi. So doctor hapo kanifanyia upasuaji, that was December. From that December nilikuwa bedridden mpaka mwezi wa 8.
Moses Kakame from Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, shares a similar story. His wife, a civil servant who worked as a nurse, died in 2020 after a 5-year battle with breast cancer. The family says it has been tossed between the National Treasury and the Social Health Authority after being informed that their compensation claims were transferred from the defunct NHIF.
Kila wakati naenda, maybe monthly naenda Nairobi kuangalia wamefika wapi. Later on wakasema kwamba process imekwisha vizuri sana na tunangojea tu malipo.
Lydia Ngare, despite her condition, frequently travels to Nairobi in the hope that one day she will receive compensation to support her medical treatment and ease her suffering after an accident.
Nikienda huko wananiambia, Lydia pole, serikali haina pesa. Ya na tujui pesa tutapata lini. Nimeenda NHIF, wameniambia hakuna pesa. Treasury hata wao walisema bado hawajapata pesa yote. Nimeenda public service, walisema bado pesa hakuna. So nikawa ni kama nimefika mwisho.
The Social Health Authority says the law does not permit it to settle the claims, information that many of the affected families say they were never formally made aware of. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And it's time for a data point as we reflect on the Kenya-France relations in numbers based on the volume of trade that we have between the two countries. But I want us to begin by looking at the outstanding bilateral debts, because Kenya has borrowed from different sources. But for bilateral loans, those are between Kenya and other countries, we are talking about a total of 1 trillion shillings that we've borrowed from other countries. But you'll see that France controls just about 9.8%, which is 101 billion shillings. Compare that against a country like like China, which we have borrowed up to 63% of the total bilateral loans of 653 billion shillings. Again, compare France to Japan. We have borrowed more from France than Japan, because Japan we have 8.6%. So that's how it's looking in terms of our dependence on France when it comes to borrowing. Now, the next one will show us about how the market for Kenyan products has been growing. In Europe, for instance, you see that in France, in the year 2025, our export market in France grew by 18.7% based on the earnings that we got from there. You see Italy grew by 50.2%, Belgium by 32.8%, and Germany by 12.2%. So that's where France is. But largely, this was driven by more coffee that was shipped to Belgium and France. And this is important also because the total export earnings for the European Union was at 264 billion shillings, which is a growth of 7%. So you compare that total against what we have done, and I'll be showing you in terms of the total volume for France and Kenya. In the next slide, you'll see some of the key imports that we buy from France. You'll see some of them are pharmaceutical products. There are some chemical products. There are aircraft, spacecraft equipment, machinery, nuclear reactors, and boilers. And this should be telling you something because there was one of the deals that was signed, which is working around how we generate power. Then there's electronic equipment. Is also some of the products that we import. And this tells you a story because these are final products that are products of manufacturing. Let's take a look at what we export to France from Kenya. They're largely agricultural products, which is tea, coffee, flowers, fruits and vegetables, as well as horticultural products. Most of them not processed as they are in their raw form, apart from perhaps a bit of tea, which is semi-processed. For coffee, sometimes unroasted, which is used there to create other products. Now, the next one will show you the volume of trade, and it will be specific because the red line will show you this. These are that is the balance of trade, and then you have exports in the line that is blue, and then you have imports in the line of green. So to understand this is that, for instance, in the year 2021, we exported goods worth 9.7 billion shillings to France. In 2022, that went up slightly to 10 billion shillings. I'm looking at the blue line. And then you'll see that in 2023, that export grew to 15.5 billion shillings. In the year 2024, it went down slightly to 14 billion shillings. And now for last year, 2025, it went up slightly to 16.6 billion shillings. Now, if you have to look at the imports, how much you bought from France, you'll see that in 2021, you're talking about 22.4 billion shillings. And if you do the math between that level of imports versus the level of exports, it gives you the difference of 12.78 or rather 7 billion shillings, which is what you call the balance of trade. So for us, it is a deficit because it's a negative. We have more imports than what we export to France. So the trade is in favor of France when it comes to earnings. Then you look at 2022, we may have grown in exports, but also we reduced a bit of the imports and therefore reduced the deficit slightly to 11.2 billion shillings. Come 2023, we imported more. We increased how much we import from France to 36.9 billion shillings. Yes, we grew our exports slightly, but the trade deficit also went up to 21.4 billion shillings in favor of France. In 2024, yes, we reduced how much we exported, but we also reduced how much we imported. If you look at the trade deficit, it settled at 16.4 billion shillings. And finally, in the year 2025, we exported goods worth 16.6, but imported goods worth 29.5 billion shillings, a slight relaxation on the side of us, but you see the deficit remains at 12.9 billion shillings, obviously in favor of France. And you can easily tell why, because some of the final products that we buy from those countries pretty expensive based on the fact that they have gone through further processes in manufacturing. Let's take a look at what else that we know in terms of what is one of our key sources of foreign currency in the country is tourism. If you have to look at this chart, it tells you how important France is to the tourism market in Kenya. It contributed 40,900 tourists, some that came here for holiday, some came for business, some came as they were transiting to other destinations. So that is 8.5% share of the total tourists from Europe. If you have to compare that against the United Kingdom, UK gave us 141,400 tourists. That is 30% of the entire market of Europe. If you have to look at Germany, it was 13.4, which is 64,400 tourists from Germany. Italy, it's at 53,600. So you can see how that compares. And of course, Switzerland, also a country in Europe, talking about 2.3%, and Scandinavia at 8%. So that's where France is. How do you grow this relationship to see that, yes, there are bilateral discussions, there are agreements on MOUs on projects that are going to put in place. But then again, if you have to look at how much we are selling to the French, the figures are there for you to see. This is according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in the Economic Survey of 2026, and that is data point for this week. To another story, Professor Ayub Gitau has been appointed as the new Vice-Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, bringing to a close a prolonged period of interim leadership and marking the beginning of a new chapter in the institution's academic administration. In announcing the appointments, the University Council said the selection process was rigorous and affirmed confidence that the new leadership team is well suited to steer the university forward. Professor Gitau succeeds Professor Margaret Jesang, who has served in an acting capacity as Vice-Chancellor for the past year.
After years of uncertainty and administrative wrangles,
Sambaze habari kwamba hiki chuo,
the University of Nairobi has officially appointed a substantive Vice-Chancellor, bringing to an end a prolonged period of interim leadership at Kenya's premier institution of higher learning. The University Council appointed Professor Ayub Njoroge Gitau as the institution's 9th Vice-Chancellor, succeeding Professor Margaret Jesang Hutchinson, who has been serving in an acting capacity.
The process is now concluded. We wish to extend our appreciation to the many individuals who responded to the call for application to be considered for this position.
Professor Margaret Jesang will now resume her role as the Deputy Vice Chair in charge of research, innovation and enterprise.
In light of these substantive appointments, all officers who have been serving in acting capacity in the two roles will now revert to their previous substantive positions.
The leadership changes has also seen Professor Omolo Aduda appointed Deputy Vice-Chancellor in charge of finance, planning and development.
Ninataka kuwahakikishia raia wote wa Kenya na wale wote wanaotutazama kwamba sisi kama baraza la chuo hiki hatujashurutishwa na mtu yeyote wala kulazimishwa na mtu yeyote wa ngazi yoyote ile, iwe ya kisiasa, iwe ya kitawala, kutekeleza wajibu wetu.
Comrades Ria! Ria! Comrades VC! VC! The appointments have been welcomed by the university's student leadership, which described the move as long overdue and expressed optimism that the new administration will restore stability at the institution.
The appointment of Professor Ayub Gitau as the substantive Vice-Chancellor is and has been long overdue. We've waited for over 21 months since 2024, and the long wait has now come to an end.
Professor Gitau assumes office at a critical time for the university, which continues to grapple with financial constraints, staff welfare issues, and a number of student grievances. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And we want to bring you some new developments that we are receiving information from the Commission on Revenue Allocation from the chairperson of that institution, that is CPA Mary Wanyonyi Chebukati, who is writing, informing the public that there has been an appointment of a Commission Secretary or Chief Executive Officer at the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and that name is CPA Robel Said Nuno, who is now the new Commission Secretary, stroke Chief Executive Officer, and the appointment follows a rigorous and competitive recruitment process conducted in line with applicable recruitment laws and procedures. Continues to say that the selection process, which included a psychometric assessment and oral interviews held on 14th of May 2026, which is today, at the Kenya School of Government, Lower Kabete, attracted high qualified candidates and was undertaken in accordance with established recruitment guidelines. She continues to say that CPA Robel Said Nuno brings extensive experience in public financial management and leadership, which will support the Commission in delivering on its constitutional mandate. And of course, continues to appreciate all candidates who participated in the process and reaffirms its commitment to transparency, meritocracy, and integrity. And of course, the CRA is the institution that is responsible for finding the formula that should be used in sharing revenue between the national government and the county government, but especially splitting that revenue among the counties, the 47 counties as you know them. And that is information from the Commission chairperson. Now, to another story. Hundreds of heavy truck drivers seeking employment opportunities in Saudi Arabia continued streaming into Tononoka grounds in Mombasa as the 4-day recruitment exercise entered its second day. Ajira officials overseeing the exercise say strict recruitment procedures are being followed to ensure only qualified candidates secure favorable working terms in the Gulf nation. The recruitment drive is expected to conclude on Saturday.
Hundreds of hopeful heavy truck drivers turned up at Tononoka grounds in Mombasa in search of employment opportunities in Saudi Arabia, with many expressing optimism that the jobs could transform their livelihoods and support their families.
Once I'm confirmed, I'm going to Saudi for work because the salary is good. And for my age right now.
Ajira officials have assured applicants that the recruitment exercise is being conducted transparently and professionally in line with the international labor standards.
Yule ambaye anafuzu vizuri zaidi, Mwarabu hata anasema huyu namfix katika operation immediately. Hiyo kitu imenifurahisha mimi zaidi.
We are also targeting other professions. Hopefully we will get, and it will be added value for the both countries, for Kenya and for not only Saudi Arabia, for all GCC and Middle East companies.
Officials from Saudi-based recruitment partners Masco have also assured applicants that the opportunities remain available for candidates who successfully complete the registration and assessment process.
There is a good demand in Saudi Arabia, and to be honest, we are targeting Kenyan drivers because we have good experience in Saudi Arabia. We don't have a bulk manpower, but we are targeting. This is only the first opportunity, but it will get open gate for all and more, inshallah.
The available opportunities include jobs for taxi drivers, warehouse assistants, motorcycle riders, security guards, and cleaners across Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Qatar. More information is available on Ajira website, www.majira.com. Steve Shitera, Citizen TV, Tononoka, Mombasa.
All right, with that story, we're taking a short break here yet again. When we come back, we have business and sports, and shortly after, we'll have the news gang. Stay tuned.
Tax experts fold proposal to shift tax filing deadline from June to April of every year, say it will be punitive to taxpayers.
Unajenga na budget ndogo? Royal Mabati Factory Limited iko na suluhisho. Pata corrugated na box profile kwa bei nafuu bila compromise ya quality, na delivery ni free countrywide. Piga 0722 638383 leo.
Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour. Enjoy fresh chicken leg quarter at 499 shillings per kg. Apple Fuji at 299 shillings. Pembe home baking flour 2 kg at 131 shillings. And Hisense 4K TV at 44,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
When I have back pain, I reach for 2 tablets of Panadol Extra. With unique Optizop technology, Panadol Extra provides 3 times more pain-relieving power than standard paracetamol for fast relief from strong pain like headache, toothache, and muscle pain, and can get to work in 10 minutes so that I am ready to be there for those who need me. Stronger pain relief at only 20 shillings per pair.
Give your home the perfect finish with Heritage Mabati Mills. Choose from box profile, corrugated profile, brick tile, Roman tile, steel trusses, and elegant Deca roofing tiles. We deliver free countrywide. Call 0709 368 000 today. Heritage Mabati Mills. The proof is on the roof.
Aloe Body Lotion, infused with nature's finest ingredients, cocoa butter with pure olive oil. See the radiant glow and embrace the natural confidence that flows from within. From Tropical Brands.
Sometimes, ni ngumu kuona the good in the world. But iko, na tunajua. Safaricom and M-Pesa Foundations wako grao. Na more than 8,000 projects with over 8 million lives impacted. So kama wewe ni storyteller na uko na an eye for the unusual, we could use your lens to capture the good through photography or short video. Photography equipment and millions in cash to be won, including 2 national winners walking away with 1 million shillings each. Register at capturethegood.safaricom.co.ke. Terms and conditions apply.
Feel at home.
Mzae,
Kinoma.
ugali na slap. Baadaye wekelee mzito.
Jota, alo, ni mbaya.
Dola ni vibe. Kitu shwari.
Mom, today I celebrate you. Through you and all the incredible mothers out there, your love, your strength, and your endless sacrifices have shaped who I am today. You've been my guide, my comfort, and my greatest blessings. Thank you for always being there for me for every moment. I love you more than words could ever say. Happy Mother's Day, Mom, to you and to every amazing mother out there.
To get my strength as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 337 hash.
The tiles are even wider, so you use less pieces.
Which saved us money.
Steal the show with versatile, Oriental and Elegantile steel roofing tiles. Backed by a genuine warranty only from Mabati Rolling Mills. Visit our dealership or call us today at 0788 202020.
I'll be coming back, even if it's the last thing I will do.
In business, tax experts are warning that the proposal to reduce the tax filing deadline from 6 months to 4 months after the end of the financial year, that is from June to April of every year, could strain business operations in the country. They warn that this places pressure on taxpayers to close accounts, reconcile tax positions, and prepare returns within a shorter period, exposing them to possible fines for missing deadlines. But Treasury CS John Badi says the move is aimed at allowing the Revenue Authority a time to check and verify the accuracy of the file returns. Here's Jimmy Mbogo with more.
Finance Bill of 2026 is proposing to reduce the allowable time to file returns to the last day of the 4th month following the end of the year of income. While nil filers will have a 1-month deadline to file their returns. Treasury says the move aims to cure the last-minute filing that overwhelms the system.
If you have nil return, really, why are you waiting to June? If you are sure you have nil return, you have not earned anything. In fact, you should do it the first day of the year. Immediately December closes like this, 1st January, file your return, if it is nil return. Yeah. But you find now everybody with the nil returns waiting until 30th of June. Then they jam the system with their nil return.
However, tax experts don't agree.
So you might still say you are required to file your return by the 4th month. Then all taxpayers decide they're going to file the last week of the 4th month. The system will still be overwhelmed. So I don't think it's a cure of the system being overwhelmed. I don't believe so.
But the CS says beyond curing last-minute filing, the amendment is also meant to allow the Revenue Authority time to check and verify the filed returns.
So why do you have to wait until June, honestly, unless it is for some mischief? We are giving you 4 months, you file the returns. Then Kenya Revenue Authority has 2 months to verify the same, so that we don't spill over to the following year with the taxes for the previous year.
But experts read more into the move, arguing that it is meant to project future revenue following persistent revenue underperformance in the country.
Treasury is trying to ensure that they're able to compare the revenue that they're going to get within a fiscal year. Remember, the government year ends on 30th of June, okay? So if taxpayers are given that opportunity currently to file by 30th of June, maybe KRA or government thinks we do not know the affairs, we do not know for that fiscal year how much we were able to obtain.
PwC experts warn that this will be punitive to both businesses and individuals.
We do have multinationals in this country. There are so many adjustments that need to be made. So limiting people to 4 months, I think, is so punitive. Most of them might not have finalized with their audits, with their adjustments. So I believe it's a limited period.
Additionally, they argue that the proposal will present practical challenges for entities that are subjected to additional statutory and regulatory reporting obligation and will not result in more revenue collection. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, a shortage of pilots, aircraft engineers and other skilled aviation professionals is emerging as a major challenge for the East African aviation industry, even as demand for air transport and aviation services continues to grow across the region. Industry players meeting at the 7th East African Community Aviation Symposium are now calling on member states to establish a special regional fund to support aviation training and capacity building, warning that the high cost of training is slowing efforts to bridge the growing skills gap. The stakeholders say East Africa has made progress in harmonizing aviation safety regulations, examination systems and security oversight systems, but funding constraints and limited technical capacity continue to affect this sector. Industry leaders are also pushing for closer regional cooperation and greater digital transformation to improve safety, efficiency and competitiveness within the aviation industry.
Aviation personnel worldwide, the demand exceeds the supply. There is a shortage of pilots, engineers, so we need to find ways. Actually, this morning we were having a discussion around how do we develop a fund of some sort so that we can train these professionals, pilots, engineers, for the greater market.
There's a lot of progress that we've made since the first aviation symposium from the resolutions that have been developed. The most worth mentioning is we have developed harmonized regulations around safety and security, harmonized examination systems around aviation, and what that means is there's harmony in the community. One person doing, for example, an exam, a pilot exam in Kenya, is sitting the same exam with someone else in Burundi or in South Sudan.
Now, the Kenya National Highways Authority has released over 4.3 billion shillings to the National Land Commission for compensation of persons affected by the Kengeleni kwa Kadzengo project. The construction works are along key sections including Kengeleni Lights Area, Leisure, Bombolulu in Mombasa, Mtwapa Town and kwa Kadzengo in Kilifi County. Speaking during an inspection tour of the Mtwapa Bridge project, Engineer Macau said the construction of the dual carriageway is 56% complete and is expected to be fully completed by August 2027. A new bridge will also be constructed, a move expected to ease traffic congestion and boost tourism and business activities in the coast region.
We are not evicting anybody, including those who are compensated. We are only giving them notice and we are giving them time to recover their material. Even those who are trading on the road itself, we are giving them 30 days to relocate, to remove their temporary structures and recover their all their merchandise and go and trade elsewhere. We, after giving them the money.
It's a special bridge balance cantilever and 345 meters long. 3 spans. The mid-span will be 162, which is going over Mtwapa Creek, and 2 approach slabs. It will be one of the beautiful bridges of Kenya. And now the progress is 47%. The piling was completed, abutments are completed. For Pier 1, the pile cap is completed and pier shaft works are ongoing.
Ready to showcase your football talent? The wait is over. Safaricom Chapa Dimba is back. Bigger, bolder, and better. Safaricom is on the hunt for the next big footballing sensation. Register your team. Visit chapadimba.safaricom.co.ke and you too can be the next football star. Cheza kama wewe.
A common sign of sensitivity is a short, sharp pain to hot and cold. A lot of my patients have changed a lot of habits. They are no longer eating cold foods, popsicles, things that they love to eat. If you do nothing about it, it will get worse. Sensodyne works by creating a protective layer over the sensitive areas of the teeth. You can go back to eating ice cream and drinking beverages that have ice in it. I recommend Sensodyne for anybody who's suffering from sensitivity.
Established in 1973, its over 50 years are nothing less than a grand symphony written by values, excellence, and transformational servant leadership. The sacred heritage for our students and alumni. It is a calling that awakens the human spirit. Welcome to the home of over 40 nationalities. This is Daystar University. Excellence, transformation, and servant leadership. May intake ongoing.
Kibao kila wiki na Carrefour. Enjoy fresh chicken leg quarter at 499 shillings per kg. Apple Fuji at 299 shillings. Pembe home baking flour 2 kg at 131 shillings. And Hisense 4K TV at 44,995 shillings. Deals kibao kila wiki na Carrefour.
Tumedrop the hottest snack game na Cadbury Lunch Bar. Imetengenezwa na layers of peanuts, crisped rice, wafer na caramel, coated na Cadbury chocolate. Nunua any 2 Cadbury Lunch Bar chocolates na unaweza kushinda prizes worth 1.2 million Kenya shillings, from gaming consoles to smartphones na hampers. WhatsApp hi kwa 0706 152 430 to enter. Cadbury Lunch Bar fuels you to do much, much more. T's and C's apply.
The tiles are even wider, so you use less pieces.
Which saved us money.
Steal the show with Versatile, Oriental and Elegantile steel roofing tiles. Backed by a genuine warranty only from Mabati Rolling Mills. Visit a dealership or call us today at 0788 202020.
Are you or a loved one struggling with drug or alcohol addiction? At ARS Rehabilitation and Mental Wellness Hospital, we walk with you on the journey to recovery. Located in Nyeri County, along the Marwan-Nanyuki Road, we provide professional addiction recovery programs, modern gym facilities, and a safe playground for games and wellness activities. Take the first step towards a healthier, happier life. Call us today on 0712 201 695.
Now, 4 teams will be in action on Saturday in the semi-finals of the FKF Cup. Both matches to be played at the Nyayo National Stadium. KCB FC, Tusker FC, Police FC and Bandari FC are the last 4 teams standing out of the 64 that registered for the 2026 tournament. One of the favourite teams is Tusker FC, who have not won the FKF Cup since the 2021-2022 season when they won the league and cup double. They take on KCB in the first semi-final match at 1 p.m. before Kenya Police face off against Bandari FC at 3:45 p.m. KCB is the only team in the semi-finals that has not won the cup. Bandari has won it once in 2019. Kenya Police have also won it once in 2024. Tusker FC, who are 7th in the league, have had a challenging season that led to the sacking of former coach Charles Okere. New coach Julien Met from France set a target of winning the FKF Cup as a consolation for missing out on the league title.
The mindset is good. The last victory gave us confidence, but we still focus. We don't have too much confidence because we know that Tusker, we can beat anybody, but we can defeat against any team. So my work is to keep the guys focused and keep the guys humble.
Maana nimekuwa nikisema target yetu ilikuwa lazima tuende CAF. So ligi imetutoka na accept. But sasa cup iko na ni weekend. So itaenda side yetu. Atakana tuende Kwale huko tupewe finali.
The national women under-17 football team has stepped up preparations for the World Cup second round qualifier against neighbours Uganda. Uganda will host the first leg at the Fufa complex on the 22nd of May, with Kenya hosting the return leg on the 30th of May at the Nyayo National Stadium. The junior starlets go in the tie against Uganda full of confidence after a 7-1 aggregate win over Namibia in the first round of qualifiers. Uganda will be no pushovers as they also advanced to the second round with a comfortable 6-1 aggregate win over Zimbabwe. Kenya will be looking for a second appearance at the World Cup after making their debut in 2024. The winner of the Kenya versus Uganda then will face Cameroon in the third and final qualifying round. Cameroon, alongside Nigeria, Guinea and Zambia, have already qualified for the final round of the Africa qualifiers.
Watu wako na moral, kila mtu anajituma sababu Uganda sio opponent wa rahisi. Sisi tuna promise Uganda away tarudi na 3 points. Hata let down, pia home ndio kichinjio tuamalizie huko.
The camp is much better. We are training, the team is ready, they are fighting. Qualifying to the World Cup will mean a lot to me because it will continue motivating me and the other girls to work extra hard in order to achieve our goals.
Now, the cost of building the Talanta Sports City that has the Raila Odinga International Stadium went up by a whopping 10.6 billion shillings from an initial cost of 35.2 billion shillings to 45 billion shillings. Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya says 5 factors contributed to the huge increase in the cost of construction of the stadium, that is 87% complete. Value-added tax, which is VAT, rural development levy, custom duty, import declaration fees and import charges for imported material all pushed the budget by the additional billions. The CS says the project is not tax exempted and the ministry opted to do direct procurement due to the strict deadlines for delivery. Despite the China Road and Bridge Company being awarded the tender, Mvurya says all direct procurement procedures were followed. The works remaining at Talanta are planting of grass in the main stadium, construction of skyboxes, training pitches, the car park and access roads.
Oh, wameka laini mbili.
All right, so that's it with the news and especially the sports. And here we are. Up next is News Gang. Jamila, any thoughts?
Nope.
Okay.
Tunasubiri.
There's a story probably you must have left out.
Which one?
Man City, Crystal Palace.
Lakini bora tunabeba stories za jana leo. News is new.
Okay.
Jamila.
Yes, Thomas. Sawa, nimenyamaza.
Yeah.
Twende break.
It is as easy as saying that Manchester City beat Crystal Palace 3-0.
Yep.
And you'll be meeting them the final game, is it?
We have 2 games. I'm forgetting.
Yes.
It's Crystal Palace is the last one, yes.
Yes.
Before final year Champions League, yes.
Yeah, so I didn't ask about that, but it's okay. So good luck with that. We'll show you how it's done. It's 3-0, nothing less. Not 1-0, surely.
Lakini points ni zile. Ama 3-0 ni points 9.
Niulize, kuna kitu inaitwanga goal difference?
Iko.
Yes. Okay.
Hata sasa inatusumbua.
No, just checking because you seem to think that doesn't matter.
I have a ask. Tunaenda break. Si tuende break.
Yes. Yes, we're just saying you need to know the difference between goal difference and points and everything else in between.
Iko shida
So,
itaona.
News Gang is up next. It is what's coming up. Paris to Nairobi with love, hugs.